Thanks for downloading Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Today's show can be found in many ways. iTunes, the Ehnotherpodcast.com webpage, and now can be found on Stitcher.com. You can now stream the latest show anywhere with the Stitcher app, on your computer, even on your boss's computer. Ehnother Podcast is now at your fingertips every day of the week and at your convenience. Enjoy today's episode of Warlock Wednesdays. Ehnotherpodcast.com, not a sponsor. Hello everyone and welcome to another Warlock Wednesdays. It is the Warlock Hour. I am Razor and I have another great show for you this week. A lot of stuff to get through. It was thought about that with Comic-Con over, there might not be as much entertainment news. There's probably just as much, but I am going to do a full show. We are going to include the sports at the end for those who want to listen to that. But again, I do keep it at the end because I do know that most of my audience isn't interested in the sports. So let's kick things off as we do every week with your comic book releases. This is the light week of the month, so not a lot to sort through, but I've got some comics you might be interested in. From DC this week, DC Comics has Batman Annual Number 2, as well as Superman Annual Number 2 coming out. Also, Batman Incorporated Number 13, Injustice, Gods Among Us Number 7, and Superboy Number 22. From Marvel this week, you can pick up Captain Marvel Number 14, Guardians of the Galaxy Number 5, Uncanny X-Force Number 9, Uncanny X-Men Number 9, and X-Men Number 3. So a very X-related world for Marvel this week. From their independents this week, Dark Horse Comics has Angel and Faith number 24, Dynamite Entertainment has Kevin Smith's The Bionic Man number 22, and as stated in previous podcasts, this is based on a script that Kevin Smith wrote for a Bionic Man movie and did not get made, so has been turned into a successful comic book so far. IDW Publishing this week has 3 titles that might be of interest. Doctor Who, Prisoners of Time, number 7 of the 12-part miniseries, G.I. Joe number 6, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 24. So those are your comic book releases for this week, Wednesday, July the 31st, last day of the month. So pick your comics up, whatever interests you. Remember, if you want your comic that you always pick up reported in this podcast so that you know that it's your week to pick it up, send us an email, send me an email, send me a post a comment. Let me know and I will add it and I will make sure that every time that new one comes out, I will mention it right here on this podcast. So let's move into the box office news from this past weekend. And as expected, I was right. The Wolverine finished number 1. Now, it didn't do as well as I thought it would. I said it would probably do within the $60 to $80 million range. It did not quite crack the $60 million mark. However, it is the biggest movie in the last 4 weeks, raking in a $53.1 million total here in North America. Now, that being said, the overseas market for some of these movies determine a lot of things and determine a lot of success. And the foreign market made $91.9 million, so a worldwide total of $150.6 million already made by the Wolverine. As I said, 53 right here in North America. With a budget of $120 million, this movie has to be considered a success. So, the North American market is lower than I expected. However, the overseas market with both this and Pacific Rim has been huge for both these films, and it's no wonder when Pacific Rim is very Japanese style, anime, that kind of style, and the Wolverine takes place in, of course, Japan as it follows that storyline in the Wolverine mythos. Now, that being said, is it a success? Is it a hit? It won't probably be considered a full-blown success, as it will probably not reach its $120 million budget, plus marketing, here in North America. With this coming week being a light week, it could be a chance for Wolverine to pick up another $30 to $40 million. It's possible, though highly unlikely. There is only one movie coming out this week. I'll get to that in a minute. But the competition, as I said, in the summer, when you come out after June 15th, up until the end of August, it is very tough to sustain things unless you're a stellar movie, because a new hit or a new expected blockbuster or a new surprise blockbuster is coming out every week. Moving on the list, The Conjuring, which was number 1 last week, slips to the number 2 spot, bringing in another $22.2 million. Despicable Me slides to number 3 with $16.4 million. Turbo slides to number 4 with $13.7 million. Grown Ups 2 at 5 with $11.6 million. Red 2 at 6 with $9.3 million. Pacific Rim drops down to 7th with $7.7 million. The Heat holds steady at 8 with $6.9 million. R.I.P.D. falls to 9th with $6.0 million. And a little-known movie, Fruitvale Station, jumped from number 17 to number 10 this week. Now, I don't know too much about this Fruitvale Station. All I can tell you is that it stars Michael B. Jordan and Octavia Spencer, and is produced by Forrest Whitaker. And if I just try and see a little bit about it, the tagline for it was the best movie at the Sundance Film Festival, an unstoppable cinematic force. It's from the Weinstein Company, and it's inspired by a true story. Now, these festival films always start on a little amount of screens. To give you an indication of how successful this movie has been in its third week, it went from 34 screens last week to 1,064 screens this week, with an increase of 520.7% profit by making $4,314 per screen. Fruitvale Station jumps from 17 up to 10, and good for them. Good for the Weinstein Company. They used to be the forerunners in independent film, and looks like they're trying to do that again with a little known movie that, again, had its success at Sundance and now has moved into the mainstream market. When you think back of about 25 years, I think it's about 25 years. I think my math is correct. It could be 20 or 30 years. I'm just trying to think. 20 years, sorry, not that long, not 25 years. About 20 years ago, a little movie known as Clerks surfaced at the Sundance Film Festival and went on to be a cult classic. So, and that was because of the Weinsteins. It was done, yes, through Miramax back then, but it's still the Weinsteins are the reason that the Clerks made what it did. So that is your top 10 list, and let's see what's coming out next week. There is only one movie coming out this coming Friday, August the 2nd, and that movie is Two Guns. Two Guns stars Denzel Washington and Marky Mark as two different law enforcement agents. One's from the DEA, and I believe the other is from... I want to say CIA, but I could be wrong in that regards. The gist of it is they rob somebody, turns out to be a bad somebody, they're hired to kill each other. Instead of killing each other, they decide that they're going to team up, figure out who this guy is, and obviously, save the day. This is definitely something that will interest those action fans out there. I'm definitely wanting to see it. I love watching movies like this because you can go in there, clear your head, you don't have to think, you don't have to worry about anything. A lot of people always say these movies are the same. Yeah, they are. But you know what? Sometimes you just need to go to the movies to escape. This is an escape movie. It's not going to win any awards. It's not going to be Oscar worthy. It's not going to be, it's not supposed to be critically acclaimed. These movies are meant to be just go in, escape from your life, and watch an hour and 45 minutes of shoot 'em up movie. That's about all it is. And that's what it'll be. Again, due to this, I think the Wolverine has a good chance of staying number 1 2 weeks in a row. However, movies like this tend to bring in enough money to push that. We could see a battle here. So it'll be interesting to see the numbers next week. So let's move on to some entertainment news. Vin Diesel in the news again this week. of course, the star of the Fast and the Furious franchise and the Triple X franchise, well, it looks like he will be teaming up with Neil Moritz again. Neil Moritz is a producer, and he will be set to play in a movie called World's Most Wanted. This is a upcoming action adventure. The film is originally written by Sean O'Keefe and Will Staples, but is being rewritten by Dan Mazeau. Apparently, they're not releasing any plot details at this time, just that Vin Diesel's on board and Neil Moritz is on board. Now, Neil Moritz produced both the first Fast and the Furious movie and the Triple X, and so they've both launched those franchises to the successes they've had and the failures with the Triple X sequels. But Fast and the Furious has definitely been a successful franchise. Nobody can deny that. Whether they like those movies or not, nobody can deny that the Fast and the Furious 6 movies going into 7 has not been a successful franchise. So, Neil Moritz and Vin Diesel at it again. John M. Chu, who is the director of G.I. Joe Retaliation, and will be directing the sequel to G.I. Joe Retaliation. He was asked about Dwayne Johnson returning to the team, and he says, it looks like we have a good indication that Dwayne will be coming back. He says it's all depending on his schedule. He says, I think that what helps us is knowing that we do what we do in Joe, and knowing that Masters of the Universe, which is another film he's working on, has to be very different. It has to feel very different. But the script of Masters of the Universe is what really hooked me. So John M. Chu is not only going to be directing the next G.I. Joe film, he's also going to be directing a remake of Masters of the Universe. He said, I love Masters of the Universe, but I didn't know necessarily how to make it into a movie until I read the script and thought, oh my gosh, I totally see it. I get how this is going to shake it up. I get how this is different from any other thing, and it got me really, really excited. We're still working on that one, and Joe has momentum right now. The audience has been great, and we want another one. So we're rushing to get that done, and Dwayne has a certain time period, so it may end up that Joe goes first and all those things, and I don't know if Masters of the Universe will wait for me, or where that's going to end up. But right now, it's been great. We've been designing a ton of stuff for Masters of the Universe as a really beautiful, grounded, honest world. That's the best way I could describe it. It's everything you want Masters of the Universe to be in terms of the fantasy, but not in a way theatrical, crazy way. It is actually a gorgeous world that we're doing in the initial visual concepts that we've been making. So basically, he's saying, screw that old Masters of the Universe. We're making a good one. Now again, he was asked about Dwayne Johnson, and he said, I can't confirm or deny the reports, but yeah, we're continuing, and of course The Rock is our leader, and much of what he displays in what G.I. Joe and what the future G.I. Joe will be, but we're trying to figure all that stuff out right now. So Dwayne Johnson has been very busy, and I hate when people refer to him as The Rock. Yes, The Rock is a character he did in the WWE, but that's just it, folks. It's a character. You don't call him Roadblock. You don't call him any other characters that he's played in movies. You call him Dwayne Johnson. His name is Dwayne Johnson. If you want to say Dwayne The Rock Johnson, by all means, go ahead. As long as you make sure you put the Rock part in quotation marks. His name is Dwayne Johnson. Get it right, people. Now, I'm the same guy who still calls Marky Mark Marky Mark. He'll always be Marky Mark to me. I guess maybe that's kind of a double standard, but I do know that his name is Mark Wahlberg, and in official stuff, I usually call him Mark Wahlberg, but he will always be Marky Mark to me, simply because he first broke into my mind as Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. That being said, I guess if you want to call him The Rock, fine, but his name is Dwayne Johnson, and in promotions, people should start referring to him as Dwayne Johnson, because The Rock is a character that he played. Whereas Marky Mark was not a character Mark Wahlberg played, but rather a persona for... It was the name he took on for his rap career. I guess it's similar, but it's not. Anybody who knows WWE, it is still a performance. It is still acting. It's just athletic acting. They use athletes instead of full-blown actors. They use athletes who can act. Moving on. Tom Hiddleston, who, as we all know, plays Thor in the upcoming Thor 2, The Dark World, or Thor The Dark World, there actually is no 2 in it. And he also was in the first Thor movie and in the Avengers movie in 2012. He has been asked about why or why not he will not be appearing in the Avengers Age of Ultron. I think it's great for the film, he says, that I'm not going to be in it because I'm so proud of the first one. Joss and I, there were so many things that we both love about it, and in a way, if I was in it, we'd be chasing those moments. We'd be chasing that again. The Avengers needs a new bad guy to fight. They need new things to do, but for the film, I'll be waving them off and saying good luck, have fun, and I'll be in the front row when it comes out. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. They don't just keep using him, because honestly, let's be real here. Loki would get boring if he was the bad guy again in the second Avengers film. Especially after the teasing of Thanos. The fact that Age of Ultron is the second Avengers movie after the Thanos teasing, people went crazy. They were like, what about Thanos? What about Thanos? What about Thanos? What about Thanos? Thanos is a huge monster of a bad guy. Excuse me, I need a drink. But Joss Whedon said it best. Ultron is probably the most well-known, versatile, vicious, evil, at a loss for words, bad guy that the Avengers could face. He is the perfect guy to have the Avengers face. He's faced the Avengers in so many different iterations. He's faced the Avengers in so many different universes. He is an Avengers enemy. Thanos is a Marvel enemy. And by waiting till the third Avengers movie, which is what I think will happen, which is what I've said for a long time now, waiting till a third Avengers movie gives you more characters that you can introduce between now and then. Now, see, Phase 2 hasn't really introduced us to any new characters yet. We've had Iron Man 3. Did we get a new good guy? Not really. Rhodey was Iron Patriot for a while, but Iron Patriot isn't a new good guy. It's basically War Machine. In Captain America Winter Soldier, let's start with Thor, The Dark World. Will we see a new character there? Highly unlikely. Most of it's going to be taking place in Asgard or on other planes, not Earth. Perhaps we'll meet Beta Ray Bill. That would be interesting. Captain America Winter Soldier. We know that Bucky Barnes is going to be in it because he is the Winter Soldier. But really, we're not getting introduced to any more new characters until Guardians of the Galaxy next summer. Next August, in fact. Next August, we will meet a new crew. And Thanos may not be in it as the main bad guy. We have other bad guys that are going to be in it. We already know this. But Thanos is overseeing the bad guys in Guardians of the Galaxy. So we're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, that's the only new additions. Now, if you go into Phase 3, we're going to get Ant-Man. We already know that. So we're going to have Hank Pym. We're going to have Ant-Man involved with the Avengers. Rumors are we're going to get Doctor Strange. We're going to get Black Panther. If we get those two, and you add it in, you've just added Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, Black Panther, which one did I just say? I forget. Doctor Strange, and then possibly one more, or a couple more. You never know how many they're going to introduce into these. I mean, they could technically introduce Wasp into the Ant-Man movie. So, the thing is that waiting till the third one gives you more people to battle Thanos. And more people to battle Thanos is needed because Thanos is such an ultimate bad guy, especially if they give him the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet, the Infinity War, it was huge. And I had a quote I wanted to say last week, but it just never fit in with all the Comic-Con stuff. And comparing things back and forth between Marvel and DC, because DC made such a huge splash by announcing the Superman, or Batman being in the next Man of Steel movie. I basically wrote this down in a comment somewhere, and it stuck with me because, first of all, it was my words, but I said, Warner blew it when they turned down Joss and his Wonder Woman script. They obviously had no idea who he was and what he could do. Now, he's ruling the Marvel Cinematic Universe with an Infinity Gauntlet. And I really mean that, because I really truly believe that the Infinity Gauntlet and possibly the Infinity War will come into some play. And I said this week, that if Marvel, the cinematic Marvel Universe, can come to terms at least with Sony to get Spider-Man in an Avengers film, man, would that be huge. Fox right now and Disney, they butt heads too much. There would have to be some serious peace talks for those two to come to some terms to get some of the characters from the X-Men universe and the Fantastic Four universe to join an Avengers flick to make a gigantic Infinity War full-blown hugeness that would just be off the awesome scale. It would be legend, wait for it, hope you're not lactose intolerant, dairy, legendary. Alright, so let's move on to some other Joss Whedon news, and Joss Whedon talks about Black Widow being in the Avengers Age of Ultron. He was asked basically what role she would play. Natasha is a huge part of the sequel because you do want to concentrate on the people who don't have their own franchises. Although she is in Cap 2, and she's great, she was the most fun for me because she's not a hero, you know? And it's something that I read, and I feel bad that I can't remember who wrote the book, but it's one of those books explaining, these guys are heroes. You are a spy. It's a different thing. It's a different skill set, and you don't have their moral high ground or any of that good stuff. And that just makes her so interesting to me. So yeah, the stuff I've got going on her in the second one is killer. He went on to say about Scarlet Witch and the costume she might be wearing. Sorry guys, she will not be wearing the leotard. Let's read the whole thing. She might wear a headband or something that might echo it. The guys at Marvel, the conceptual artists, are phenomenal, and they are so good at taking the essence of what works and interpreting it for the actual human body. And when they paint something, you can not only tell how it's going to work on a person, you can even tell what fabric it'll be. They're very specific, very talented. So I'm excited to see the designs. Obviously, we want to echo the look that people know, but there's the classic look and the Ultimates look, but you have to do it in a way that will work. But it can't be too old school. She can't wear a leotard. Sorry guys, she's not going to be half naked throughout the whole flick. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have to be some kind of sexiness. Remember, Scarlet Witch is still going to have that headband, and that's one of the key things. So that's cool. If they kind of conceptualize it to look a little bit more along the lines of the Ultimates, I'm okay with that. A lot of the Ultimate Comics lore has been in most of the Marvel movies up to this point. So it just makes sense. And I'm looking forward to it and cannot wait. Moving on, a guy known for playing a lot of baddies, Wes Bentley, has been recently cast in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Most recently, he was the bad guy in The Hunger Games. He played the gamekeeper. He was basically the guy overseeing the games in The Hunger Games. He is now joining an all-star lineup that includes Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine, Bill Irwin, Mackenzie Foy, John Lithgow, and Casey Affleck. Interstellar is both written and going to be directed by Nolan, and looks like that's, when is it? November 7th, 2014. So Topher Grace was also announced as part of this lineup. So Topher Grace and Wes Bentley join the cast of Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. Speaking of casting, last month, the Heat's director-writer Paul Feig announced that he was going to be making a female-driven spy comedy titled Susan Cooper. Well, it looks like Melissa McCarthy is close to signing a deal that would make her the lead. Now, Susan Cooper would make the third time that Feig and McCarthy teamed up, and they'll also be teaming up for a sequel to The Heat, and apparently a sequel to Bridesmaids. So, Susan Cooper is meant to be a female spy movie a la James Bond-ish, which means she could be doing this for a few roles. Now, if it really is James Bond, this character could change out, much like James Bond does. So Melissa McCarthy could do it until, she either gets too old or too greedy. She could get greedy, or just doesn't want to do the part no more, and then somebody else could take on the role. If it truly is Bondish, I mean, why not? James McAvoy, the young Professor Xavier, who's filming X-Men Days of Future Past right now, has signed on to 20th Century Fox Frankenstein. He will be playing Dr. Frankenstein to Daniel Radcliffe's Igor. Yes, Daniel Radcliffe will be playing Igor, and James McAvoy will be playing Dr. Frankenstein. Now, the film is scripted by Max Landis, who wrote Chronicle, and they're adapting the 1818 novel by Mary Shelley. Here's what Landis had to say. I began to pick apart our knowledge of Frankenstein and discovered that the public's idea of this myth comes from a million different places. I became committed to recontextualizing it. Also, it all worked in one story. By the end of the day, it's a period piece, and yes, it's from Igor's perspective. But man, it's cool. It's the best thing I've written. So this movie is going to be shown through the eyes of Igor, aka Daniel Radcliffe in this case. Paul McGugan? Not quite sure how to say that. Is attached to direct the film. So that's all I've got on that one right now. E1, Entertainment One, has acquired the North American distribution rights to Knights of Badassdom, starring Peter Dinklage, Ryan Quanten, Steve Zahn, and Summer Glau. The film will be distributed in the U.S. In theaters and video on demand. It is a how do I describe it? It's a live-action role-player, so LARPers mistakenly conjure up a demon from hell and must deal with the consequences. It's obviously very funny and interesting, and while I may not get it in my theater, I think I will be looking this up on video on demand, because this, to me, is a geek's paradise in a sense. LARPing, who actually summon up a demon and now have to deal with it, that is just freaking cool, and plus the actors make it cool. Alright, you Dredd fans, did you like the new Judge Dredd movie, Dredd 3D, starring Carl Urban as Dredd, and who played it very well? Well, star Carl Urban has spoken about how fans should be vocal about wanting a sequel. Well, there's a petition, and I'm going to put the link in the description below, and you can sign this petition to get a Dredd sequel made. Let's make our voices heard, people. We want a Dredd sequel. If we want it, sign a petition. Let's get this done. Let's show the studios that we need a Dredd sequel. That while Lionsgate didn't make a lot in the theatrical release, the DVD release has shown that there are fans. And yes, it is definitely gotta be that sort of R rating in the States, 18A in Canada, because it has to really incorporate the true essence of Dredd. And I don't mean Dredd, D-R-E-A-D, I mean Dredd as in D-R-E-D-D. So, let's see what we can do, people. I'll put the link to the petition below, and you can sign that petition, and let's see what happens. Maybe we get a Dredd sequel. Alright, couple of remakes for you. James McTeague is to helm a remake of Bloodsport. Bloodsport. It was, of course, a 1988 martial arts film starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, of course. And it looks like McTeague is going to direct a remake. No word on who would play the characters. The original Bloodsport received 3 direct-to-video sequels. Obviously, not very successful, but Bloodsport did, at the time, do quite well for a martial arts fighting movie. And now, with the popularity of MMA, perhaps this is a time where they can expand it, twist it a little bit, change it up, and put it out there for the newer audience. Speaking of remakes, another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie is getting the reboot, Kickboxer. It looks like Kickboxer will be done by director Stephen Fung and Radar Pictures. Stephen Fung will be adapting a script for Kickboxer. It also spawned direct-to-video sequels, but again, the original starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. So, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies are apparently getting the reboots in the next few couple of years, maybe. And we could see those reboots in theaters or on video within the next couple of years. Mark Webb has some news about Amazing Spider-Man 4. Alright, so we know that the sequels are set. We know that the third one will come out June 10th, 2006, and the fourth one will come out May 4th, 2018. Fans have speculated about the inclusion of the Sinister Six storyline, which really kind of makes sense considering the characters that he's introduced so far. Here's what he had to say about the proposed fourth film. Well, I think this was conceived of as a trilogy, so there was a defined architecture to the story we were telling, and we had sort of a rough outline of what was going to happen. I think for the fourth movie, what we've discovered is there are so many ancillary characters that have enormous cinematic potential that there may be other ways to exploit these characters in a way that is exciting and fun and worthwhile. It might not just be a Spider-Man movie. So could it be the Sinister Six movie? In a sense? Possibly. He's thrown more fuel to the fire, that's all I know. Fantastic Four reboot is about to start production soon in Louisiana. However, no cast yet. So instead of being filmed in Vancouver, they're going to film in Louisiana. Still, the rumors are to have brother and sister be Michael B. Jordan, who is of the Negroid persuasion, and Allison Williams, who is of the Caucasoid persuasion. And I mean, it's possible. I don't mind when you change the race of a character, especially in this day and age. Race doesn't matter, especially in a superhero movie. Race doesn't matter. But they're brother and sister. So let's please, if you're going to change the race of one, change the race of the other. Let's not change the whole family dynamic. Totally. Like, I mean, let's keep some of the comic book there, please. Please, Fox. I know you like screwing things up all the time. I know you like ripping things up and tearing them out and not even considering them. But please. I don't mind that you change the race of a character, just keep the race similar. I mean, it's not often you see a brother and sister of a different race, unless they're adopted. And if they're going to play that angle, I mean, then the whole movie's going to be about adopting. And that's not what Fantastic Four is about. It's about family. It really is about family. The Fantastic Four is one of the first family-oriented teams. The team is made up of a family. They're known as the first family of comics. Like, seriously. Stop screwing things up over at Fox. Moving on. Abigail Breslin, who many of you might know from such films as Zombieland, The Call. Also, she'll be in the upcoming Ender's Game. She has been tapped to play the title role in the upcoming movie Maggie. Of course, she will be playing Maggie. Now, this is a zombie movie, also with, get this, Arnold Schwarzenegger. The tagline, or the logline of the movie is, As a Walking Dead virus, and Walking Dead is in quotation, spreads across the country, a farm family helps their eldest daughter come to terms with her infection as she slowly becomes a flesh-eating zombie. Now, and if you've seen Zombieland, Abigail plays a character who's killing zombies. In this movie, she will be playing a girl or young lady who will be turning into a zombie, and how that affects the family and the things around her. Has an interesting twist. Just hope it doesn't turn into another Warm Bodies. Sony Pictures has plans for a Gran Turismo movie, and why not? With the success of the Fast and Furious franchise, which, as I said earlier, has been very successful, with Fast and Furious 6 breaking worldwide records anyways, which has earned the movie $700 million so far worldwide. Why not make a Gran Turismo movie? DreamWorks Pictures, meanwhile, has their own racing franchise in the works, also based on a video game, and they are getting Need for Speed. So Need for Speed is going to hit theaters excuse me, March 14th, 2014, and Gran Turismo could be not far behind that, maybe a little, maybe later in 2014, or maybe even March of 2015. But a Gran Turismo movie is in the works over at Sony Pictures, with Dana Brunetti and Mike DeLuca attached to produce. Something that I should have mentioned earlier, but I screwed up and put it in the wrong spot. For the Avengers Age of Ultron movie, there will be no Agent Coulson. As many of you know, S.H.I.E.L.D., or Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., will be debuting this fall on ABC. This is going to star Clark Gregg, who plays, of course, Agent Coulson. When Joss Whedon was asked about Coulson being in Age of Ultron, he said he could return. Right now, it's not something I'm pursuing because I have so much going on in Avengers 2. Finding out that Coulson is alive would be an entire B story, and I already have too much movie. That's better than the other thing. When he went on to elaborate the case when speaking about Samuel L. Jackson appearing in the upcoming TV series, he says, but we also have the movies, and we have TV, and we need to make sure there's some crossover, but not so much that people go, well, I don't need to see that movie. I saw it on TV. If we do that, Kevin Feige is going to come after me with a pitchfork. So basically he's saying the Coulson storyline will play out in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and if you want to know what's going to happen with him, watch the show. If you want to know what's happening with the Avengers, watch the movie. So Coulson is moving on in the S.H.I.E.L.D. business, and he's no longer a liaison between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. That position will probably be taken up by Maria Hill, who's, if anybody knows, who reads the comics, she's currently the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. Alright, you Star Wars fans, legendary music composer, I should say, John Williams has officially signed on for the Star Wars Episode 7 film. He has done the music for Star Wars for a very long time, and Episode 7 will mark a return to the Star Wars world for Mr. Williams. This comes as great news for me, because without his scoring a Star Wars movie, it just might not be the same. Sigourney Weaver, meanwhile, is in negotiations to join the Mortal Instruments franchise, City of Ashes. This movie is a sequel to the film that will hit theaters August 21st, City of Bones. She would appear in one of the new roles in the upcoming sequel. City of Ashes is described as follows. Clary Frey, is that her name, really? Clary? That's a weird name. Maybe they spelt that wrong. I guess not. It's written all over the place. Anyways, Clary Frey just wishes that her life would go back to normal. But what's normal when you're a demon-slaying shadow hunter? Your mother is in a magically induced coma, and you can suddenly see downworlders like werewolves, vampires, and fairies. If Clary left the world of the shadow hunters behind, it would mean more time with her best friend Simon, who's becoming more than a friend. But the shadow hunting world isn't ready to let her go, especially her handsome, infuriating newfound brother Jace. And Clary's only chance to help her mother is to track down rogue shadow hunter Valentine, who's probably insane, certainly evil, and also her father. To complicate matters, someone in New York is murdering downworlder children. Is Valentine behind the killings? And if he is, what is he trying to do? When the second of the mortal instruments, the Soul Sword, is stolen, the terrifying Inquisitor arrives to investigate and zooms right in on Jace. How can Clary stop Valentine if Jace is willing to betray everything he believes in to help their father? In this breathtaking sequel to City of Bones, Cassandra Clare lures her readers back into the dark grip of New York City's downworld, where love is never safe and power becomes the deadliest temptation. Now, in that description, I noticed nothing about a character that Sigourney Weaver could be playing, unless she's the terrifying Inquisitor. Not sure, I haven't read the books, so at this point, it just looks like Sigourney Weaver's in negotiations to join the franchise. Don't even know why I read that. It was actually pointless. I was hoping it would reveal something, but apparently it didn't. For those of you who are waiting for the remake, Old Boy from Spike Lee, it will no longer be coming out October 25th. Instead, it will be coming out Wednesday, November 27th. So, pushing it back just 1 month. Okay, on this podcast, I have reported that there was going to be a Beverly Hills Cop movie, then I reported there was going to be a Beverly Hills Cop TV show. Well, neither are happening, or maybe they are. The Beverly Hills Cop TV show was shut down. They took the pilot around. The pilot was starring Brandon T. Jackson as Axel Foley's son. CBS did not pick it up. The report, who said this? Paramount says, sad to report that efforts to land Beverly Hills Cop pilot at another network have failed. This iteration is dead for now. Good news for fans of the franchise is that the pilot tested so well and has caused Paramount to put another Beverly Hills Cop movie into production. It will be written by Sean Ryan, and executive produced by Eddie Murphy and Sean Ryan. The pilot also featured Murphy reprising his character. Now, nothing is known about what the script is going to entail. All I say is this to Eddie Murphy and Sean Ryan. If this movie is not rated 18A in Canada or R in the United States, it will suck. To quote Ralph Garman, this will be a movie that will suck. Because simply saying that you're making a Beverly Hills Cop movie doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good if you try and PG it down. No, it's not going to fly. It's not going to fly. PG, PG-13, screw it. This movie has to be R-rated in the States, 18A in Canada. Maybe 14A. But at least 18A. It's got to be at least R in the States, because R in the States could mean a 14A or an 18A, depending on where you live in Canada, just because of the laws of your specific province. But what I'm saying is, this must be an R-rated movie in the States, because otherwise it's not a Beverly Hills Cop movie. Sorry. Alright, do we have a new Batman? It looks like we might. I'm going to mess up this guy's name, so I apologize if he's listening, which I'm sure he's not. But Tyler Hoechlin? Hoechlin? Hoechlin. Hoechlin. I'm going to say Hoechlin. I have no idea. Apparently he plays in this MTV series Teen Wolf, which I will not watch because I'm a 36-year-old man, not a 12-year-old girl. Actually, it's probably more geared for 16-year-old girls, but whatever. So I have never watched the show, and I probably never will. Well, apparently this actor has a screen test alongside Henry Cavill to play Batman. The people over at Warner Brothers want a younger person to play Batman, around between, I'm guessing, mid-20s. And if I just quickly check out if this guy's profile, possibly... Oh, excuse me. I believe this guy is somewhere around 25 years old. I should have had this picked out already. Ugh, I hate when I mess up. But basically, this guy looks like he could do it, actually. He looks like he'd be a good Bruce Wayne. He definitely has the look for it. And then Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith, not sponsors with Hollywood Babylon or anything, shared a picture where he was kind of scowling and he had a kind of scowl to him. So he definitely could essentially play the part. So I don't know exactly where they are. I mean, screen testing just means he's going to read some lines along Henry Cavill, but he is the front runner, in my opinion, when you consider nobody else has been announced as screen testing. So I just checked it up. He is 26. Now, you got to remember, they want an actor who can do this role for a few films. So all these people that want certain actors, someone keeps saying Christian Bale. Christian Bale is not doing it. Give it up. He's not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing it. Zero chance that Christian Bale will ever do Batman again. Now, another name that has been bandied around that I cannot stand. I think he's a horrible actor, a horrible person. I have not been able to like most of his work. If he's the star of something, I probably won't watch it. If he's a co-star, I might be able to get by it. And that man's name is Jon Hamm. Now, here's the problem with Jon Hamm. He's 42 years old. I don't care what he looks like. He's 42. He's too old. He's too old. They want this guy to play more than one movie, more than two movies. They want this guy to play in Man of Steel 2, whatever they end up calling it. I'm calling it Man of Steel World's Finest. They want him to play in a Justice League movie, and they want him to play in solo movies. They want the same actor. Jon Hamm cannot do that. First of all, he's probably too greedy and too egotistical. So, maybe this Tyler Hoechlin, I still can't pronounce that last name, guy is the right way to go. He's relatively unknown unless you are a 16-year-old girl. And, yeah. So, this guy is the front runner. I still like my pick. Although, I think he might be too old, too. I think he's in his 30s. And that's Jensen Ackles. I think he's like 31, I want to say. I'm just going to quickly check out his age again. Now, people have said he's too short, but he's actually the same height as the current Superman. And Superman and Batman, no matter what people say, are roughly the same general build. So, I'm just gonna check it out. 35. So yeah, he's probably too old as well. Sadly, because I think he'd make a great Batman. And that's my opinion, I'm sticking to it. Alright. Let's move on to some non-movie news. For all of you, this kind of ties into movie news, but it's not movie news because it's not a movie. For all you Fight Club fans, author Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote the Fight Club novel, is writing a graphic novel sequel. Here's what he had to say. About the graphic novel, it's true. Chelsea Kane has been introducing me to artists and creators from Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse, and they're walking me through the process. It will likely be a series of books that update the story 10 years after the seeming end of Tyler Durden. Nowadays, Tyler is telling the story, lurking inside Jack, and ready to launch a comeback. Jack is oblivious. Marla is bored. Their marriage has run aground on the rocky coastline of middle-aged suburban boredom. It's only when their little boy disappears, kidnapped by Tyler, that Jack is dragged back into the world of mayhem. It will, of course, be dark and messy. Due to contract obligations, it can't come to light for a while. Next year is Beautiful You, followed by the story collection, but since the Fight Club sequel will appear serialized in graphic form, my book publisher might allow me to launch it a little earlier than 2015. So, feel free to release any or all of this information. We haven't started to court a specific publisher, not until I hammer out the complete story. So, he is working on a graphic novel, but we're not going to see this for a couple of years due to, looks like, contract obligations. For those of you who are fans of the new summer series Under the Dome, apparently they're not escaping the dome, because Under the Dome has been renewed for a second season and will return in the summer of 2014. So, the series will continue, and it looks like they're not escaping the dome. So the 13 episodes this year will lead into another season next year. And this is one of those shows where it could get old really quick. Excuse me while I take another drink. The reason why I say it can get old really quick is because much like Prison Break, which after they broke out of the prison the first time, it was pretty much done. I mean, the second season made some sense. It was them on the run, but then they were back into a different prison, and they broke out of that one. It really did get old. They're under a dome. If you keep them under the dome too long, people will get bored. Yes, it's had a successful this year, and it could do well next year. This series, to me, is a 3-season maximum. The reason I say that is it's 13 episodes per season. You got 13 episodes this year, 13 episodes next year, that brings you to 26. You get up to 39, and people will start to get bored. If they're not out of the dome by either the end of the second season, and we have consequences maybe in the third season, or out of the dome by mid-third season, and then consequences to end the year, or repercussions, or what have you, I don't see where it goes from a third season. Keeping them in the dome too long could hurt this show. For now, I'm excited. I am enjoying Under the Dome. I have not watched the latest episode. I will be, hopefully either tonight or tomorrow. Remember, I'm recording this before Wednesday. Alright, for those of you who've been following Amanda Bynes and her hugely public breakdowns, she's gone into all kinds of craziness in the last couple of months. Apparently, she's actually crazy. She's been diagnosed schizophrenic. She's been on a 5150 hold, which I actually had to look up. 5150 is an involuntary psychiatric hold. It is Section 5150 of the California Welfare and Institutions Code, which allows a qualified officer or clinic member to involuntarily confine a person deemed to have a mental disorder that makes him or her a danger to herself, to self, a danger to others, and or gravely disabled. A qualified officer, which includes any California peace officer, as well as any specifically designated county clinic person, can request the confinement after signing a written declaration. When used as a term, 5150 can informally refer to the person being confined or to the declaration itself, or colloquially as a verb, as in someone was 5150. Well, Amanda Bynes was 5150, and recently her parents wanted to get conservatorship, which means she would come live with her parents and be treated at her home. They lost that, so she has been extended for 2 weeks. So, for the time being, all Amanda Bynes news should be low, and it is always sad when somebody's diagnosed with a mental disorder, and I can't see how schizophrenia would be anything good to live with, and maybe all of this craziness was due to her schizophrenia, and I just hope that she comes through this a much better person than she's been in the last couple of months. And I know schizophrenia is treatable. She may have to take medication for the rest of her life, but even though she's a famous person and I don't know her, you always feel bad about something like this. Now, what you don't feel bad about is somebody like Justin Bieber. He's a douchebag. And that's the plain and simple of it. He's not crazy, he's just a douchebag. You wanted to hear his latest douchebaggery stuff? Well, Justin Bieber spit on his own fans. That's right. He spit on his own fans. He was leaning over his balcony, spitting on his fans. It's despicable. Like, are you serious? He's claiming, obviously, that it's fake, that it was doctored footage of him spitting on his fans. Of course he's going to claim that. But we've seen him piss in mop buckets. We've seen him. What else do we see him do? We've seen him just deface a picture of a former president. We've seen him racing his car around a gated neighborhood with children at 100 miles per hour. We've seen him do many stupid things. Like, how could you not believe that he would actually do this? Of course, he still has his believers. He's a doofus. He's an idiot. And, like, Ralph Garman has always said, let's deport him back to Canada. This spitting incident happened in Canada. We don't want him either. Let's, deport him to a non-extradition country where none of us have to deal with him. This guy, first of all, I can't stand his music. That's besides the point. I mean, there's artists that I just can't stand music from, but they're not as stupid, as idiotic, and as annoying as Justin Bieber. The money has gone to his head, and somebody needs to take this kid, slap him around, and set him straight. Because you know what? He's going to end up just another druggy, dead famous person, simply because he doesn't know how to handle himself or his cash. It's sad when you see a child celebrity that acts like this, because it's ridiculous. Like, seriously ridiculous. How can you not teach these people, you know, that when they turn 18 or what have you, are going to come into this huge cash flow, and they're going to act like morons, idiots, and douchebags? He's a disgrace to Canada. He's a disgrace to child actors who actually don't get involved in this stuff. It is absolutely insanely stupid. And he makes me so angry. I just want to slap this kid. Okay, so that is it for the entertainment news this week. I'm going to take a short break, and we'll come back with some sports. So keep listening if you want to listen to the sports. Otherwise, this may be the end for you, and if so, I'm sorry. But I like sports. I got to redo it. So come back after this short little break.
Hi, I'm Rob Succhetto, and you're listening to Ehnotherpodcast.com. Hi, I'm Rob Succhetto, creator of Zombie Portraits. You can check out Zombie Portraits at zombieportraits.com.
And I'm back. So remember, if you want to check out Rob Succhetto's work, check out zombieportraits.com. Let's get to the sports. Now, football season is not too far away. Preseason, in fact, starts August 8th, which is just over a week away at this point, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's just preseason, but football will be back, and before long, the NFL will be back on the airways, and I cannot wait. Ever since hockey ended, this is what I long for. I do cover some baseball, and I will continue to cover the baseball, but I love hockey and I love football. Those are my two favorite sports, probably ever. Sad news for many teams. Well, not many teams, but quite a few teams in training camp and practices have lost players for the entire year. Let's start in Baltimore. Baltimore Ravens have lost their star tight end, Dennis Pitta, for the entire year. He has a damaged hip. Now, originally, they thought this could have been a career-ending injury. He underwent surgery, and it appears that he will miss the entire season, but will be able to return for the 2014 season. That is, of course, if he signs with the Ravens, because he will be a free agent after this year. The good news is, here's the quote, the good news is there's a fracture, but it's in the big part of the hip bone. It's a very tight fracture. It didn't move at all. There's no ligament damage. There's no cartilage damage. It's a clean break. It's good news. Nothing has changed as far as our plans for this season goes. He'll be back in the future. Again, of course, if the Ravens do re-sign him. So the Ravens lose a star tight end. Let's move over to the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have lost defensive lineman Turk McBride for the entire season. He has ruptured his Achilles tendon. This player signed a 1-year contract in March, and he was attempting to nail down the nickel specialist role with Corey Wooten, which obviously would move Julius Peppers moving into the starting lineup opposite Julius Peppers. So now that's not going to be in the cards for him, and he's only played 15 of 32 games over the past 2 seasons, and Achilles surgery will take him probably next off season, like training camp next year, maybe just before training camp next year before he can play. So, Turk McBride done for the Bears. Moving over to Philadelphia, they lose one of their top receivers in Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin will be out for the entire season as he looks like a MCL sprain. No, wait. ACL tear. He is done for the year, missing the entire season. Again, a practice that caused the injury. So that's bad news for Philadelphia. And probably the team with the worst news, the Denver Broncos lose Dan Koppen, their center. And people make fun of centers because they're just big guys, but you know what? A center is a key part of any offense. And Dan Koppen was a very good, strong center, and he is done for the year with a torn ACL in his left knee. He was carted off the field after hearing it pop. He is definitely going for season-ending surgery. He is 33 years old. They had already lost J.D. Walton for the season, who suffered a setback in his recovery from a dislocated ankle. The Broncos are down to one person really left. Let's see. Manny Ramirez, and no, not the baseball player, who is actually a guard by trade, and Steve Valos are the only 2 people to snap the ball to Peyton Manning. So it may come down to having to sign a free agent or making a trade for a center to help out in Broncoville. Now, if you listen to Ehnother Podcast on Monday, you might have heard this story, but I'm repeating it because, well, I had it marked down for a while ever since this happened. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ryan Braun was suspended for the remainder of the season and playoffs. I believe it's playoffs. Okay, well, it's at least the remainder of the season-ending 65-game suspension, and since he plays for the Milwaukee Brewers, it pretty much is the season. I don't think the Milwaukee Brewers are in the playoff hunt. Let me just take a quick peek. We're not going to get to that till a while. No, they're second last in the freaking National League, so yeah, he's done for the year. So yeah, he admitted to taking the PEDs, the performance-enhancing drugs, and he is suspended for the rest of the season. Now, an NFL fan is having a little fun with Green Bay Packers star Aaron Rodgers over his vociferous support of Milwaukee Brewers slugger Ryan Braun. It all started when Todd Sutton tweeted last year that Rodgers was delusional over his insistence that Braun had not used performance-enhancing drugs. Rodgers then responded saying that he would bet a year's salary that his friend was clean, including the hashtags pony up and exonerated. Now that Braun has been suspended, Sutton tells USA Today, not a sponsor, that he would settle for a game check. The 37-year-old flight nurse from Denver tells the newspaper he's not expecting to hear from Rodgers. He also says he still likes the quarterback. Rodgers, who has more than 1 million Twitter followers, had not posted on his account since last Thursday. So, should Rodgers give this fan a game check? Let's work that out. This year, Rodgers is expected to make $4.5 million as a salary. There's bonuses and everything included there, and all kinds of other things. So let's divide that by 16 games. That would work out to roughly, let's do this differently. I screwed that up. So $4.5 million divided by 16 games, it would work out to $281,250. Could you imagine if Rogers actually did this for this fan? That would be awesome. I agree with the fan. I don't think that he's going to hear from Rogers, and I don't think Rogers would give up a whole year's salary. But hey, if the guy would settle for a game check, why don't you round it off? Why didn't you write him a check for $250,000 and call it quits? I mean, really, I think the fan deserves it. Excuse me. So, I mean, hey, could see something here. Of course, then again, if he does it, it might be expected when any sport personality or celebrity kind of scoffs and says, blah blah blah. I would bet this, and then if that happens, it's like, oh shoot, did I really just say that? Ugh. Yeah, not so good. Now, I did say that the NFL season would start August 8th, or the preseason would start August 8th, but there is one game before that, and that's the Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame game takes place Sunday, August 4th, and it will be the Miami Dolphins taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So that is technically the first game of the preseason schedule. The Hall of Fame game is always first, and then we get into preseason week 1. So, August 4th, for those of you who are wondering, that's this Sunday. Hall of Fame game this Sunday. Football is back, baby! Alright, let's move on to the baseball standings. Okay, so... what's going on here? Hang on, I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay, so let's start in the American League, where we always start. We have a new American League East leader, and that would be the Tampa Bay Rays. They are leading the East with 63-43 record. Over in the West, the Oakland Athletics hold down that top spot with a 63-43 record. The Detroit Tigers hold the Central with a 59-45 record. The two wild cards currently are the Boston Red Sox with a 63-44 record, and the Baltimore Orioles with a 58-48 record. Right now, making 3 teams coming out of the AL East. In the National League, the leaders are the St. Louis Cardinals in the Central Division with a 62-41 record, the Atlanta Braves in the East with a 61-45 record, and the West leading LA Dodgers with a 56-48 record. Your 2 wild cards at this point, the Pittsburgh Pirates, 62-42 at this point, and the Cincinnati Reds with a 59-48 record. Let's take a look at some statistics. Your average leader is still Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers with 360 batting average. Chris Johnson follows him with the Braves, 339 batting average. Yadier Molina of the Cardinals, 331 batting average. Michael Kadire of the Rockies with a 329 batting average, also with a 329 batting average. David Ortiz of the Red Sox. Home run leaders, Chris Davis of the Orioles with 37. Miguel Cabrera of the Tigers has 32. Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays has 29. Pedro Alvarez of the Pirates has 27. And Carlos Gonzalez of the Rockies has 26. Your RBI leaders, and by next week this will be over 100, but Miguel Cabrera is sitting at 99 RBIs for the Detroit Tigers. Chris Davis has 97 RBIs for the Baltimore Orioles, and that could also be over 100 next week. Paul Goldschmidt of the Diamondbacks has 85 RBIs, Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays has 84, and Brandon Phillips of the Reds has 81. Your stolen base leaders, Jacoby Ellsbury of the Red Sox has 39, Everett Cabrera of the Padres has 36, Rajai Davis of the Jays has 31, Jean Segura of the Brewers has 31, Starling Marte of the Pirates has 30. Your ERA leaders, Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers has a 1.96 ERA, Matt Harvey of the Mets with a 2.11, Jeff Locke of the Pirates with 2.15, Patrick Corbin of the Diamondbacks with a 2.24, Felix Hernandez of the Mariners with a 2.34 ERA. Your pitching win leaders, that's it, pitcher wins? The wins leaders, Max Scherzer of the Tigers has 15 wins, Bartolo Colon of the Athletics and Matt Moore of the Rays each with 14 wins, and Chris Tillman of the Orioles and Adam Wainwright of the Cardinals each with 13 wins. Your strikeout leader is still Yu Darvish of the Rangers with 172. Matt Harvey of the Mets follows him, and Max Scherzer of the Tigers each with 164. Felix Hernandez of the Mariners has 158, and Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers has 156. Your saves leaders, Jim Johnson of the Orioles has 35, Mariano Rivera of the Yankees has 33, Joe Nathan of the Rangers has 32, Craig Kimbrell of the Braves has 31, and Jason Grilli of the Pirates and Edward Mujica of the Cardinals each have 30. So those are your statistics for the baseball this week. That is it for Warlock Wednesdays this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Remember to come back every week. I do this every week, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy every part of the show. Remember, on Ehnotherpodcast.com, we have 3 shows so far for you, and we're always looking for more. We're hoping to fill the week, but right now we still have the 3 shows going strong. This was episode 34 for me, so I'm a little bit behind the other guys, but you know what? I started a lot later. So, Ehnother Podcast is on Mondays. Real Tuesdays is, well, self-explanatory, on Tuesdays. And, of course, actually it's called Real Music, but it's Real Tuesdays. So, Real Music on Real Tuesdays. And, of course, me on Wednesdays with the Warlock Hour, also known as Warlock Wednesdays. So, I hope you enjoyed the show. Come back next week, and I'll be here. But right now, I am out. Thanks for listening to Ehnother Podcast from Ehnotherpodcast.com. Don't forget to go on iTunes and or download right from Ehnotherpodcast.com. That's EHNOTHER podcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ehnother Podcast. Be sure to check back for tomorrow's show only on Ehnother Podcast, your Canadian podcast network. Ehnotherpodcast.com. Not a sponsor.